This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Knick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sob like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
The second annual NBK draft party in Atlantic City. There'll be a live podcast, live DJ, live video shoot. $40 for a VIP ticket, $30 for draft night only. Get your tickets now. Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, get your tickets to the draft party. We're like, I don't know, what are we, 2 weeks away from the draft and the draft party in Atlantic City? So make sure you get your tickets. There's a link in the description of the video, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also going to put it to the top of your YouTube chat. All the details that you need are in that link. So make sure that you get your tickets because we want to see you there. It's going to be dope. It's going to be fun. You see Big Bubba there. I don't even need to talk about what I'm going to do to this man on the basketball court because you already know. As a matter of fact, we're going to do a show where we take a look back at, the game that we had a couple of years ago so you guys can see the way that I demolished him on the basketball court. I heard he's been working out, so maybe he scores more than 2 points this time. You know what I mean? Maybe he gets 3 or 4. We will see how that goes. But ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you are there. This show is brought to you by thegameday.com. So for all of your up-to-date sports content and betting odds, make sure you get to the Game Day. There's a link in the description of the video. Let's get to everybody. See what's popping, see what's going on. I might as well start with that guy. Big Bubba, what's popping, man?
Hey, what's going on, Sam, Steph, Tony, Blackest Time. Hey, look, man.
Yo, Blackest Time, but anyway.
Yo, Blackest. I like to say. Can I be original? I want to be original.
All right, be original.
Look, it's okay. Look, that was a couple years ago. Yeah, we're going to do the video, Sam. But let me tell you something. I'm stronger, faster. I'm the $1 million man. You know what I'm saying? So we got better. We went to the gym. We put the work in, and we gonna see it on. We're going to see it when we go play in Atlantic City. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, you don't even know the date. That's how bad it is.
No. I know the date.
What's the date?
I know the date. I know the date. I don't even got to say.
What's the date?
I know the date.
There you go. June 24th, ladies and gentlemen. June 24th. You don't even know the date. That's an issue right there.
Listen, you know why? Because I'm ready. When you be ready, you don't even need to know what damn. I'm already ready.
All right. Mm-hmm. Steph, what's going on, Steph?
Everything is good. Salute to you, Tony, Isaiah. Looking forward to Atlantic City and looking forward to this show.
Yeah. Tony?
What's good, Sim? Shout out to the chat, the panel, Your Blackest Time. Isaiah, I might make a special t-shirt just for you that says Blackest Time. just for you. But let's get it going.
Yeah, let's get it.
Oh wait, Sim.
Oh yeah.
What you gotta do? You gotta do a breakdown of the whole. You know what I mean? Play by play.
Yeah,
like you do for the Knicks prospects.
We're gonna break it down. Yeah, we're gonna break it down. I don't know what kind of prospect Isaiah is, but we're gonna break it down. You know what I mean? So yesterday there was an article, the New York Post. Obviously, it was Mark Berman who put out the article, and it was talking about everything that's going on in Utah, right? With Quinn Snyder is no longer the head coach of the Utah Jazz, and how Donovan Mitchell, obviously it's a little bit, his feathers are ruffled a little bit with everything that's going on, but that may not be in the Knicks' favor. You know what I mean? He's disappointed and unsettled. Those are quotes, right? But it seems like the franchise is going to kind of let Donovan Mitchell help out in choosing the next head coach, right? Which, if the Knicks are really watching this whole situation and plan to pursue Donovan Mitchell, with everything that's going on, and if he wants out of Utah, this may not work well for the New York Knicks. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but you know, as far as him choosing the coach, but let's just say he'd be a little bit more involved. Okay. Sentiment around the league, and this is quoted from the article, sentiment around the league is combo guard Donovan Mitchell is somehow involved in the shakeup. All right. Involved in the shakeup. Now, it's my words. My words said, you know, he'd be involved in choosing the next head coach. That's my assumption. So let me say that he's involved with the shakeup. Right? The franchise is at a crossroads after a first-round KO versus the Dallas Mavericks in the playoffs. All right, the Jazz are contemplating breaking up the Mitchell/Rudy Gobert tandem. You know, of course, that's been a solid playoff entrant over the last few years, but not good enough to make it to the Western Conference Finals. And the Knicks and other teams are watching the situation with Donovan Mitchell. To go along with that, and according to a source, Knicks assistant coach Johnnie Bryant, a former Jazz assistant and a pal of Donovan Mitchell, will likely interview for the position. And then, of course, if he is chosen as the head coach, I mean, Donovan Mitchell and Johnnie Bryant are pretty close. You can all but chop it up that Donovan Mitchell is going to stay in Utah and play under Johnnie Bryant. You know, it doesn't seem like he's the leading person for the position right now, but you never know how things could work out, especially if Donovan Mitchell is involved. You know, any thoughts on the situation? One, about Donovan Mitchell, and then two, about losing Johnnie Bryant if that were to happen. Tony, I'll start with you.
Appreciate it. So what I was thinking was Bryant's under contract. So at the very least, can't we get something for giving him permission to talk to him or scoop him up? That's been done before, right?
I think I think it's been done. There has been things done where a coach is involved in a trade and things like that. It could be. Obviously, the Knicks would have to give the Utah Jazz permission to speak with Johnnie Bryant, right? Which I don't think that's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? But I think that might be done more on the level of a head coach rather than an assistant coach.
I don't.
I'm thinking.
Do you think he would leave to go back and be an assistant?
No, I'm saying I think as far as like a team receiving compensation, I think it's more on the level of a head coach. When a head coach is in, the middle of a 4-year contract,
I hear what you're saying.
Then I think that's where maybe you can get some compensation. But for an assistant coach, I think assistant coaches probably have clauses in their contracts to say, you know, if another team wants to hire me as a head coach,
it's a promotion.
Yeah, I can move on. You know.
Yeah, you don't want to hold a guy back. I mean, in that sense, if he's gone, he's gone. I liked him part of the developmental staff and the coaching staff. But I mean, we're bringing in new guys too. So that opens up the opportunity for maybe another guy that is on Tibbs' radar and has some more familiarity with Tibbs.
Right. Steph, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, to the first point, I'm not sure. Like when you said that Donovan Mitchell was involved in the shakeup, was it just that he was disgruntled and he was unhappy and letting Snyder go, or Snyder choosing to go was more about settling him down and giving him the space because he got the sense that that connection wasn't there, or he just wasn't, growing the way he wanted to? Or was he involved in the sense where he voiced his displeasure to management?
Right.
So it's unclear how that went down. As far as Johnnie Bryant, I mean, if he has an opportunity to get a head coaching job, he has to take it. And I think that gives Tibbs another opportunity to hire another guy that he's familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad Uncle Fulio is here on the panel. Looks like somebody punched you in the eye. I don't know what happened. I'm not even gonna get into it. I'm just saying it looks like it. You know what I mean?
It's a sign.
But I'm glad you're here because I would like to dispel the whole thing. Every time we lose a coach, you know, people somehow look at it as like it's bad on the New York Knicks and the management did something wrong. I don't. I look at it as we hired a good coaching staff. And other people are plucking our coaches,
Right.
you know, to be head coaches of their teams. So that means we did a good job bringing in coaches. It's not, I mean, it hurts the team because, you know, they have some camaraderie and chemistry with the players and the coaching staff and all of that, you know, but, you know, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Hopefully it signifies that the Knicks can bring in good coaches and good developmental coaches. Josh, what's going on?
Salute everyone. Glad to be back. But Sam, I absolutely agree with you. No question about it. Would you say that the Spurs are a terrible organization or they're bad in the way they've been doing business because their assistant coaches have left? Talking about Ime Udoka and Borrego, who just got let go from the Charlotte Hornets. I wouldn't say that about them. I wouldn't say that about a lot of these franchises who are losing assistant coaches that were former head coaches that are losing them to become head coaches. This happens all the time in the NBA. It happens all the time in the world of sports. So I don't think this is some sort of negative thing for the Knicks as far as perception, like, oh, with the Knicks, the front office is their fault because the assistant coaches want to leave. No, this is business. And in the world of business, you want to move up and you want to try to make more money and be in a higher position of authority. And that's exactly what the case is with this situation. I wouldn't be surprised if Johnnie Bryant leaves. I predicted a couple years ago that I think Scott Perry at some point might leave to run his own front office. Yes, it's going to hurt us in the short term, but again, in business, this happens all the time. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What's your thought on the whole Donovan Mitchell situation and how it relates to the Knicks?
Well, I think it's unrelated to the Knicks for the simple fact that this is something that I don't think the Knicks are a part of this as far as I don't think they're any closer to getting Donovan Mitchell than we were before the coach got fired. And I don't think Donovan Mitchell himself is the one that pushed Quinn Snyder out the door. If a lot of people don't remember when Donovan Mitchell signed his contract, it was for the hopes that Quinn Snyder was going to stick around for the entirety of his contract because they were building something. Think about it. The Jazz have made the playoffs the last 5 years since Donovan Mitchell's been in the league. It's just that they haven't progressed in the playoffs. And I guess that's where the frustration lies. And Utah being a smaller market in their organization, knowing that they kind of want to make a change just to try to bring a fresh voice in here to see if they can get them to the next level, which, again, there's no issue with that at all. So I don't think Donovan Mitchell is that disgruntled to the point where he said, I wanted Quinn Snyder fired. I believe he wanted Quinn Snyder to stick around. As far as him being disgruntled, in relation to us, I think that there's still a possibility that we can get him, but I don't think it was any more likely than it was before Quinn Snyder got fired or the last season or anything like that.
I think it does inch it. I think it inches it because, you have some upheaval. And anytime you have upheaval, that's when thoughts start coming into players' minds. Like, oh, man, do I even want to be around for this right now? You know what I mean? Do I want to deal with this? So I think that kind of upheaval at least brings that thoughts into players' minds. Now, if he's participating and involved in the hiring of the coach, and that doesn't mean he's sitting down at the interviews and things like that. That means, when they have some candidates, they say, hey, Don, what do you think about these guys right here? You know what I mean? That, I think, goes a long way in helping a player like Donovan Mitchell to stick around.
I thought you meant in regards to us making a trade for him. I didn't know you were talking about the subsequent coaching search that they have now as far as hiring Johnnie Bryant. He's absolutely involved in that process of it because the team, Utah, they want to keep him, right? So I think he's absolutely involved in that part. But as far as him forcing his way out of town, forcing his way to the Knicks, I just think that there's so much that needs to happen. Both teams have to get a good deal in place. Utah has to accept our package. Not to mention, there's other teams around the NBA that can offer stronger packages than us, right?
Yeah.
So this is not about just Donovan Mitchell coming to the Knicks. This is about whether he wants to leave or not.
Right.
And again, I don't think the Knicks specifically, their target, him coming to the New York Knicks, I don't think that it's enhanced a little bit more because of this move. I think his ability to leave, is enhanced, but not specifically coming to the Knicks. I think he can go anywhere.
I mean, but that's what I mean. Yeah, I agree. He can go anywhere. But first of all, he's got to want out. And so any kind of upheaval could signify that he wants out or not, but it could signify that he wants out. And that's why I say maybe it inches it that the Knicks could have a shot to get him because there's some upheaval there. So now it's like, okay, maybe he wants out because that's the first step. The first step is for him to want out of Utah. But if he's involved in the coaching search, that could mean that, he wants to stay because he's involved with the direction of the organization. Let me get to Tony, then I'm going to come on down to you, Isaiah, because I think he has a response to Josh. Go ahead, Tony.
Speaking of direction, do you think there's some type of mixed direction somewhere? Because was he fired or did he step down? The report says he stepped down. And if he stepped down, why, who's Donovan mad at? You know what I mean? Are you mad at your coach for stepping down? Is it like you quit on me? You know what I mean? Or is it misdirection in the sense that he was let go, but aesthetically it looks better if you say he stepped down as opposed to we let him go. You know what I mean? So that's where my questions come up, because who's he mad at? What is he mad at?
Right. And you know what I mean? I think a lot of times people step down because it looks better than being fired. You know what I mean? So he stepped down, and I think he said they need a new voice. But a lot of times it happens that, they've had a discussion and they called him and said, hey, come on in our office, Quinn. We need to have a discussion. And they were going to let him go. And then they said, listen, we can either let you go or we can say that you resigned. Kind of like with Mike D'Antoni with the Knicks, right?
And Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's labeled as he stepped down. But even a week ago, there was reports that Snyder was mulling his future. You know what I mean? So again, like, was the writing on the wall? You know what I mean? Like, were they trying to jump ahead of it with the precursor of he's mulling? He's not sure if he wants to continue, because he's under contract. So it's weird. I'll say that.
Yeah. And then, so how much, what would Donovan Mitchell be upset at? I guess we don't know. It depends on what's going on in the background, right? So if he really is in support of Quinn Snyder, I knew that was going to come out. I knew I was going to say Dan Snyder. I knew I was going to say Dan Snyder. I was thinking about it. I knew I was going to say it. But if he was actually in support of Snyder, but then he's hearing all of this stuff that the organization did to kind of force his way out, he could be upset about that. Isaiah, Big Bubble, your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it is Josh is completely wrong again. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. No, I actually do agree with Josh. I do think he's gonna actually have a lot of opinions into the coaching staff and into the head coach. I do believe, which I think is gonna happen, maybe, and I think it's gonna happen on draft night. I'm gonna call it now. I think Rudy Gobert is gonna get traded. I think he's gonna get traded. I think Donovan Mitchell is gonna. I think Donovan is going to say, I can't work with this guy. You got to get some new pieces. So I think they're going to probably do that and probably try to look for – I'm looking at Dallas. And I'm looking at some of those teams that need a center to really work with the Jazz and to get some guys over there. Again, I don't think – I was never a big fan of Donovan Mitchell coming here via trade. I just don't think that – I think the – amount you had to give up for him just isn't worth him, and him as a player. I just think it wouldn't be enough to push us to where we want to be as an organization, as far as just having him and trading all the assets.
I ain't even gonna get into the argument because I don't think not one player is gonna push us to where we want to be. That's why you got to build around the team.
Of course, I'm just saying what you would have to give up for Donovan Mitchell. I just don't think it would help us. Personally, that's just me. I don't think Donovan would. Okay. For me, Donovan doesn't move the needle for me to where I want to be. Just looking at the Eastern Conference, looking how these teams are, I just don't think it.
But nobody, Isaiah, there's nobody we can bring in. Not one person we can bring in right now. You can bring in Durant, or Kyrie. Not one person.
Durant might do it.
Durant just got eliminated in the first round.
Not one person.
Did you see what Kyrie was doing? Kyrie had one good game. He won.
But who would even have
still
that
got
in the Knicks?
That's the point. Not one person. That is the point.
Not one person. You're going to have to build. So the question is not, is he going to take us over the top? The question is he a good piece to build with?
Right.
And I think he is.
Right.
Agreed.
That's the question.
Yeah. I just, and I like Donovan Mitchell. He doesn't play defense, and we're seeing teams.
He has the tools, though.
He's better than anybody on.
So
hold
on, Steph. There's a difference between having the tools and actually playing it.
There's
a lot of players that have the
but
tools.
if you have a coach that holds you accountable, I think he'll do it.
Isaiah, he's better than anybody on our team, hands down.
You got to think about it.
I would actually Rudy Gobert that, because there's nobody
on
on that
our team.
No, but I'm just saying. I mean, Donovan, he's just not that good defensively. He really isn't. He really isn't. He good. I mean, people get mad at Rudy Gobert a lot, but it's mainly the guards that do him dirty during the playoffs.
Okay, he's better than any player on our team. I think hands down, close. And I don't even think it's even close. Right? Let me get to a phone call real quick. Caller, you live. Tell me your name and where you're from, please.
Yo, what's good? What's good? Same as Don P. 914, man. How's it going, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm chilling, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Yo, the last time I called, you probably don't remember, yo. It was a couple of years back when I was going at it with Who's Marking the Gang about Moody. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, man, I don't know. That's a long time ago. That's a while
back. That's been a minute, man.
Yeah.
But y'all was talking about Donovan Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
My thing with him is this. Yeah, he's a good player. I heard you mention that he's better than everybody on the team. My thing is, as far as our needs go, we need a point guard. And certainly, I mean, I guess we all can agree this dude is not a point guard. He's a two guard. So my thing is, RJ is better. He's best fit playing the two. He has the advantage playing the two more so than the three. If we was to get Donovan Mitchell, where would we plug him in at?
I mean, if you're getting Donovan Mitchell, you're gonna move somebody. Like let's assume that we keep RJ. Then that means Evan Fournier is probably gone. RJ can play the 3 spot, I believe, and you can put Donovan Mitchell at the 2 spot. You know, I don't think there's an issue there really, because I think, you know, if you trade it for Donovan Mitchell, you're gonna move pieces around, you know, and he's gonna fit in. You know, you're gonna make sure if you trade for Donovan Mitchell, you're gonna have a plan to put the right pieces around them so that your team can be successful, I think.
So my question is, who can Donovan Mitchell defend playing at 6'3" at the 2?
But the thing is, if you bring in Donovan Mitchell, then you bring in someone a little bit taller that's going to play that facilitation type piece. So let's just say you did trade for Donovan Mitchell, and then you brought in Dyson Daniels, right? So now he's 6'8", 6'7", 6'8".
So we're trusting the rookie now,
right? Hold on. He's 6'7", 6'8", and he can play, you know, he can defend, you know, the 3 spot and the 2 spot. Well, Donovan Mitchell can defend opposing ones. Just because he's defending an opposing one doesn't mean he's playing the 1 spot on the offensive side of the ball.
Sam, but not to mention, how do you describe players like Luka Doncic? Luka Doncic, is he a pure point guard? No, but before Jalen Brunson got elevated into the starting lineup, Luka Doncic was playing the 1. And they were a really, really successful offense. So
Luka Doncic is more of a playmaker than Donovan Mitchell is.
Yes,
but his playmaking comes off his ability to score and to dominate the basketball. That's what his playmaking comes, and they're a successful offense because of it. So this is a new era of positionless basketball where you don't need to have a point guard who's all about facilitating and playing the old Chris Paul, John Stockton role. This is a new NBA. Point blank.
No, all right. So here's the thing. Don't get it twisted. Donovan Mitchell is a terrific passer. I'm not going to say he's not. It's just facilitating is not his game. He has a scorer's mentality. He's looking to get a bucket. I understand what you're saying, Okafulio. I understand that. But my point is this. When was the last time we ever had a facilitating point guard? And when we did have a facilitating point guard, we made it to the second round of the playoffs. I'll bet he was old.
Right.
When was the last time we ever?
but check
When was
this-
the last time we ever had that?
But it doesn't have to be that way in order for us to get back to the second round, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
But check this out. If you go back and you look at that time when Jason Kidd was there, who was next to him? Raymond Felton. Right? So you had that facilitator.
Yeah, but we was clowning Raymond Felton.
Huh?
You remember?
I mean,
we was clowning Raymond
right,
Felton.
but hey, they were second in the Eastern Conference at that time. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I mean, you know, and I'm not saying that you want to go with a small guy, you know, but there's ways that you can find somebody out there. You know, listen, the team would, I don't want to say upheaval, but the team would change. Their roster is going to change. So now's the opportunity to say, okay, what pieces do we got to have around them? You know, I understand what you're saying, though. I dig it. I get what you're saying. I just think
I'm about to go after this one last comment. See, like, I understand why the Knicks brought in Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier because, you know, they basically was trying to plug in the things that we quote unquote needed for this team after the playoffs. And my thing is, it's okay to find somebody like Kemba Walker's stature who could get you a bucket, but it's we also got to look at what else can he do for us besides get us a bucket. What else can Evan Fournier do for us besides hit shots from the perimeter? Like, we got to take that into account. And players like Kemba Walker, Donovan Mitchell, players like Malik Monk, like these small guards, like, it's good. It's the Monte Ellis model to where, you know, they could get you a bucket, but who can they defend? And under Tom Thibodeau, isn't our foundation supposed to be defense?
I mean, look,
we weren't a bad defensive team. Look at the numbers. We weren't.
We were 11th.
I mean, last year we was because of the personnel, but this year, you know, I will argue because of the additions on the team, it made us worse.
No, I agree.
Definitely some drop off,
Yeah,
but we were still 11th.
Yeah, there was some drop off, but we were 11th. You know what I mean? And
right.
you know,
But
the Utah Jazz, you know, when you look at the Utah Jazz this year, I think they were 4th in points allowed or 6th in points allowed. They weren't a bad defensive team.
They were in the playoffs.
You know what I mean? They weren't a bad defense. But yo, I understand what you're saying, and everything is valid, bro. I understand what you're saying. Everything is valid. Appreciate your time and the debate a little bit. I hope you call back. You know what I'm saying? Last time we would talk about Emmanuel Mudiay. Now we talk about Donovan Mitchell. You like to call in to talk about guards. So, you know, we need you to call back to talk about some more guards when we get them.
Right.
No doubt, son.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you.
All right, take it easy,
All right,
man.
peace.
Sam, can I say this also?
Yeah.
We need a point guard, but another thing we need is a star. It doesn't matter what position. We need a star player, somebody that can hit baskets in the clutch.
Yeah.
That's a bigger need as a point guard, in my opinion. And we're trying to, where does Donovan Mitchell fit on this particular team? We just build the team, you know, around him. If we do get him, things would have to change, like you said.
You need impact players, man. Impact players. That's the thing. You need impact players. Go ahead, Tone.
No doubt.
And I agree with Josh. I think this era, positionless basketball, he can play the one. Like, he's going to be a primary ball handler anyway. And
is it so positionless? Is it?
And he makes the right read offensively the majority of the time. Averages over 5 assists at the 2 spot. He could do the same thing at the 1 spot. So I think as long as the pieces next to him fit, it doesn't really matter, and we can make it work if he's here.
But I mean, look, right? The positionless thing, I think, gets overblown a little bit because at the end of the day, because in the playoffs, they still have these positions that people still go to. Steph is still going to be one. I mean, guys are still going to 6'10" guys are still going to be centers.
But
I mean,
positionless
these
means
positionless
this. Hold on.
balls.
But it is positionless because positionless means this, right? If you look at the Dallas Mavericks, Luka's not a point guard, but he plays that. He does the facilitating. The point guard, if you're talking size-wise, is Jalen Brunson, right? But the person with the ball in their hands is Luka. You know, when you talk about Steph Curry, he's not always doing the facilitating. Sometimes it's Draymond Green doing the facilitating. That's Draymond what we talk about with being positionless, right? Because, you know, a position Back in the day, it was like, okay, you're 6'3", so you're a point guard, and you're going to do all the point guard duties. You're going to do all the facilitation duties. It's not like that anymore. You know what I mean? So you got guys who can defend 3 or 4 different positions, right? You got guys who can play. You can bring someone in to play the 1, the 2, the 3, sometimes the 4. That's positionless, right? Where you got guys that can play all over the board.
Positions pigeonhole the player. So you see
That's not necessarily true.
It does. Years ago, a 7'3" guy, if he was a shooter, he wasn't going to be drafted because they didn't want a 7'3" guy shooting the ball. They wanted him in the post with his back to the basket. It was putting limitations on players. Now players of all sizes, big or small, can do things that, are out of the realm of the normal positions that were given to players. You look at these 6'6" power forwards and 6'6" centers out there that, you know what I mean? Like, they're not 7 foot, but they can play the center. And Draymond Green and all that. So it goes on and on. It's a new day where you look at the player's ability and not just their size and put them in a slot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
There's still positions in basketball.
I mean, of course there's positions, right? Because that's how there's positions, but there's a lot more positionless basketball being played. You know what I'm saying?
Why you think when they vote for the All-Star game, they say forwards and guards?
I was just about to say
why
that.
Why do you think they do it that way? Why you don't think they put it as point guard, shooting guard? They do it differently now. And they're about to swap the whole NBA.
No, I was about to say that, Joe. They still got the All NBA where you have to be a center, you got to be a power forward, got to be.
No, they actually do a forwards and guards. That's what they actually do.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'll just say this: Donovan Mitchell can impact this basketball team, in my opinion. You know what I mean? He can impact this basketball team. You bring in Donovan Mitchell, and if you still got one of R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle, one of the two, because let's just be honest, if you traded for him, one of those guys would probably go, right? Depending on what the Utah Jazz wanted to do and if it was even possible. But now, you got space to say, okay, now we're going to add this, we're going to add that, because, you have a star player who's going to be, he's an impactful player, a multi all-star. That would be a multi all-star in the Eastern Conference. You know what I mean? He's going to impact your team. I think he's really, really good, and he's still just 25 years old, right? 25. I mean, he's got, he hasn't even reached his prime yet. So, Anyway, and the last time he played the Knicks, people talk about facilitation. He was facilitating his ass off. So, he was facilitating like a mug the last time he played the Knicks. But anyway, who knows how that's going to go down as far as Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz. Of course, Stephen A. Smith said, he doesn't deserve, the New York Knicks don't deserve Donovan Mitchell. Whatever.
Stephen A. don't deserve the Knicks. How about that?
Whatever.
Nah, it's not,
I'm ready to bump him from,
honestly,
from the fans.
You know what gets me mad about Stephen A. Smith the most, though, Sim, is that people have this idea that that's the representation of Knicks fans, and I hate it because it's like, some of the stuff he says just doesn't make sense. Like, even today, right, he was just like, oh, the Knicks don't deserve him because the stench of James Dolan. I'm like, fam, what are we talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, Josh like that, but Josh loves that. But I just think it's so asinine to even say that, because it's like, bro, for somebody that's in the NBA, that's somebody that's, because he always talks about, I've been 25 years into it, then you should know that James Dolan hasn't been doing anything bad these last couple of years, and that the Knicks have young talent, they have draft picks, they have cap. So it's like you're saying that we don't deserve him, but it's like you're putting this bad energy out there that we're still this toxic. We're in the mid 2000s, right. Toxic Knicks fan, right? And it's like we're not that no more.
Well, we had a bad season, but it's not toxic.
Yeah,
we had a bad season. You know what I'm saying?
I'm still
I see Josh shaking his head,
yeah.
and I'm gonna come around to you, and then we're gonna get to some of these draft prospect workouts. But I'm gonna say this, this is how much I hold, how much water I hold with what Stephen A. was saying, right? You know, he did his whole rant and he was talking about, you know, oh, I was on the radio talking about Donovan Mitchell and he's this and that out of Louisville. But then there's a clip, and I put it in our little chat, where after the Knicks drafted Frank Ntilikina, he mentioned all of these players. And none of them was Donovan Mitchell. He said, oh, he could have drafted Dennis Smith Jr., right? Could have drafted this guy, Malik Monk, Zach Collins. Not once did he mention Donovan Mitchell. You know what I'm saying? You know,
it's corny, son.
It is what it is. But go ahead, Josh. I know you got something you want to get off your chest.
Here we go.
James Dolan and all
first of all, I'll just say this. I'm not going to defend Stephen A. Smith. One, he is an entertainer, right? So a lot of stuff that he does on TV, I think, is for the show. I think it's, you know, people watch him because of his theatrics. That should be quite frank, right? I mean, and that's him. I told you before, the Knicks are not going to get covered like any other team. One, because they're in the biggest media market in the world. You're a franchise that's been around since the start of the NBA, so you're going to get covered a little bit differently, and there's more expectations in New York than there is in Utah. All right, so let me just get that out there. But I'll say this. Stephen A. Smith may go overboard with what he said, but the fact still remains, in the 22 years of James Dolan, this team has underperformed. They have. We have the worst record in 22 years under James Dolan's ownership. Now, you know, the basketball court doesn't lie. The product has been bad for the majority of 22 years. I myself, I'm very optimistic about what the future holds. I like our current position because I don't believe we've been in this type of spot as far as the cap situation and the young players that we've had over the last 22 years. So I'm optimistic about that, and I'm very happy that we have this current front office in there. But as a Knicks fan, right, people are frustrated. It's okay to be frustrated and still be optimistic at the same time. And Stephen A. Smith did nothing different than a lot of people on Twitter do. The front office this, the front office that. We should fire the front office. I had an argument with Alex B from Bad Weather Fans. Go check out his podcast, by the way. That was pretty dope. I had an argument with him on Twitter about he wanted to fire Tom Thibodeau after one season. So listen, Stephen A. Smith is not doing anything different, and the media is not doing anything different than what fans do on a regular basis on Twitter. So I don't understand what the vitriol is and everything like that. I understand he's being a little bit more eccentric or whatever to you know, get more viewers and all of that stuff. But the premise is right. The Knicks have not been good under James Dolan.
Hold on, can I ask you?
But anyway,
they haven't. But over the last 3-4 years, James Dolan hasn't even been involved. You know, people.
He's literally not been in Josh. Hold on, because here's my big thing. Right?
We know the difference from when he was visiting.
Right.
We do know that.
Right.
We do know that.
Listen, but my thing is this. My thing is this though, Josh. Right. We always do it. And granted, yes, was James Dolan wrong for a long time? Yes. My biggest thing was that we always put it on just James Dolan. We don't blame Isaiah Thomas, who's to me one of the worst.
He hired him, Isaiah. He hired him.
Yes, Josh, but what is it? But hold on, Josh. Here's the thing that I think you don't get with most owners. Most owners are not hands-on. Well, most owners, they hire a team president and they back off.
It's not about being hands-on, Isaiah. That's the point. You guys keep making it about James Dolan being hands-on. I don't think Stephen A. Smith was making it about that either. I don't think James Dolan, you know, makes every decision and all that stuff. But the point being, if you're a CEO of a company, you set the tempo and you set what goes on for the rest of your company. That's just business. So if everyone wants to give James Dolan credit for what the Rangers are doing right now, right? So that's what I'm saying.
No, I don't. Actually, hold on. I don't think people give him credit. People use the Rangers to say, you know, you're talking about how everything's been bad at MSG and this and that and this and that, but the Rangers doing well. The Knicks are number one in revenue in the league.
And that's
hold on.
That's the most important part anyway. Because when it's business, it's about money.
Right.
And the bottom line is he's getting money. He's making money.
But hold up.
In New York.
But wait a minute.
Context to that.
But hold up. Yeah, there's context. There's more context, right? Because Madison Square Garden as a company is doing well. Right? So you can look and you can say just because the Knicks are doing well that everything else, you know, well, everything else must be doing bad. It's not. Right? So maybe it's just something with the New York Knicks. It's not the entire organization because remember the Knicks are part of an entire larger corporation. Right? It's not the entire corporation, obviously. And lately, he's not really been involved with what the Knicks are doing.
He hasn't. Literally, he hasn't.
So like we keep bringing, and this is not to say that he hasn't been. We all know that he has been, right? But right now he's not. He's not.
Sam, this isn't about James Dolan being hands-on. This is a results-oriented business. I specifically pointed out the fact that the Knicks have been bad on the floor.
We get
I didn't even talk about
But is that James Dolan? Is that James Dolan?
But I'm saying it's a part of the picture. It's a part of the puzzle. Let me finish that there.
Okay. All right.
The basketball floor matters. Right. Okay. So you don't want to blame the Clippers owner for being bad for all those years when they were bad all of those years.
But what I'm saying, but people,
and then he got ousted, and then they came in, and now they're a better team in the organization.
That's totally different.
Hold on, no, George, no, you can't do that.
That's totally different
because he was a blatant racist for years.
What does that have to do with the basketball court, though?
But listen, but beyond that,
he also penny pitched. He also had him working out in community colleges instead of a actual training facility. So there's a lot different when you talk about that owner and this owner.
Yeah.
But the bottom line when it comes to an owner, he's about getting money. The guys he hired, they're hired to do a job. So if you're gonna be mad at somebody, you mad at the person who did the bad job, not at the owner, because his bottom line, if his profits are increasing day in and day out, then he's not doing it.
Myself, I'm sure you don't, and a lot of people don't make money off of the Knicks, off of James Dolan. This is not what this is about. If you have an owner that only if you have an owner that only cares about his bottom line, his pocket, and not the team, I think that's an issue. I think that's an issue because the fans do have he said the fans do have a piece of this organization, and there's nothing wrong with the fans.
Hold up, Isaiah. So this is where I want to get to, right? Because the whole idea of bringing up the last 22 years, right? It has to do with culture. The reason why I brought up the Rangers and the reason why I brought up the corporation, right, is because clearly that culture is not what people make it out to be. Yes, the Knicks have had a bad culture in the past, but it's not right now. You know what I'm saying? And people always point to James Dolan and say, well, he sets a bad culture for the organization. And I just don't think it's true because other parts of the organization are striving. So I don't think it's about him setting a bad culture. And that's what going back to the 22 years gets at. He sets a bad culture. Because of him, there's a bad culture in the organization. And I disagree because other parts of the organization are thriving and doing well. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think
how convenient it is to lump what the Rangers are doing right now to what the Knicks have been doing.
I can go back. Whoa. No. We can go back and talk about this whole thing. That you can go back and look 2 years ago. And I've said the same exact thing.
George,
not about the Rangers.
George,
but I mean, it goes into the Rangers because they're doing well right now. So obviously, and they were doing well a few years ago. So obviously, you would say, well, what's different between those two teams? What's different? Yeah. And when you start talking about culture, when you start talking about culture, then you've got to look at the entire organization. You can't just look at one part. You got to look at the entire organization.
But I want to say this too, because this is where to me that we don't talk about the gut, right? Josh, who's the first owner in the league history to have a black coach, a black GM, and a black president?
I don't know if it's James Dolan, but that's not what we're talking about.
No. Hold on.
That is not what we're talking about.
I don't know if that's really what we're talking about, though.
No. We're talking about culture. We're talking about building. We're talking about reputation. Well, I'm just saying, but these are the things that we always talk about him being a bad owner. We're talking about being this. We're talking about the league.
No one can ever accuse James Dolan of being a racist. That's not what we're talking about.
I'm not talking about being a racist, though. I'm just talking about the positive that he does that we don't get that he doesn't get shot.
I agree. I'm
saying that because again, right, when David Stern passed away, who hosted his funeral?
Listen, all that's all fine and dandy.
But
I'm pointing back to the basketball floor. The Knicks have not been good. I'm not trying to mirror it up and cover it up and make it all.
But this is what I will say.
Nobody's disagreeing with that part, Josh.
Right. But this is what I will say.
That's what I'm saying.
This is what I will say.
You're putting it all on Dolan.
I think a big part of it. I think he's a big part of it.
Okay, let's get to Steph.
He's hired multiple front offices. So he's somebody, in my opinion, that does want to win. And the people he hired, though, not getting the job done. He give them 3-4 years, whatever. If he see he's not getting the 5, whatever it is, he's not getting the results that he wants, he moves to the next person. He moves to the next regime. So to me, that's somebody who wants to win, who has his eye on the team. They're not improving. They sold me this vision of how they were going to get the team from point A to point B. They are not doing it. I got to move on for them. And he moved on from Isaiah Thomas. Took a long time, though, in my opinion.
It took a very long
and then rehired him to coach the women.
Okay, but that's
we're not going to
okay.
talk about that, but
And he did the same with Steve Mills.
Right. And this is the same thing going on now. So a lot of times, we're talking about we want to build through with the young guys. I always say, what's Dolan's perspective on that? Because Dolan comes across to me as somebody who does want to win. You may say his basketball decisions and who he hired hasn't worked out, but he wants to win. I don't think he's given Leon Rose 6, 7, 8 years to turn this around. Just from what we've seen, they got a few more years, if that, and he's going to bring in somebody else. So to me, he comes across as an owner that's chasing. He wants to win. He doesn't mind putting his money behind the team.
Never a problem.
He's not going to hold on to a coach just because he owes them money. So I think it's just more about the issues I've had with Dolan is just the general man, the front offices he's hired.
But
that's
Steph,
the issues I've had with him.
And Steph, let me say this, dude.
And then he's a bit too sensitive and ego.
He's definitely
just let some things go.
Steph, you're talking about a billionaire's ego. So that's hard to let go. But I will say this, right? For a very long time, the Phoenix Suns owner was probably as bad or as worse than James Dolan. Right? There was a point where he wanted the town of Phoenix to pay for their own arena, and they went to a town hall to boycott this man. But guess what he did? He hired the right people. He got the right coaches. They drafted well. And he got the right players in there. Now we don't hear that. Hold on, last year. Hold on, wait, George. Let me go, George.
This is the last thing because we got to move on from this.
Let me say this,
George.
Last year, did we talk about James Dolan once?
No, because he was winning. They were winning. That's the point. Winning matters, Isaiah.
But he was the same person, is what we're saying.
Yes, thank you, Steph.
I agree with all of that. But what I'm telling you is winning and losing matters. The Knicks have not won. That's why people talk about them the way they do. And it's New York. You can't compare New York to Phoenix. James Dolan's pockets go way deeper than what Robert Sarver throwing out there. You know what I'm saying? So that stuff matters. So people that's complaining about, Knicks don't get fair coverage and everything like that. You play in New York. And you play in the medium capital of the world. And you're one of the original franchises in the NBA and in hockey and the NHL. So people are going to talk about you. There's expectations that come with that. And if you don't like the fact that the media is talking about the Knicks for not being a winning franchise, then go out and win. Plain and simple. No one spoke that bad about the Knicks last year when they were in the 4th seed. That kind of died down, right? Stephen A. Smith was bigging them up, right? But the Knicks won 23 games.
I'll tell you this, and then we can move on. James Dolan was still getting bad press coverage. Even last year, we've had arguments with you, Josh, last year about James Dolan. He was still getting bad press coverage, even when the New York Knicks were doing well. He was still getting that bad press coverage. I mean, and you got to admit it, he was. There's no doubt about it, he was.
I don't remember that, but okay.
Okay, and no, we're gonna move on. Let's move on. We're gonna move on.
People takes.
Yeah, let's talk about some of these draft prospects that the Knicks had in to work out over, basically since the combine. All right, they've had a bunch of guys in, and they had 3 or 4. Actually, I think 6 guys in today, but we only know about a few of them that worked out. But let's look at some of the other guys that they had in. Some of the draft prospects the Knicks have had in recently. They had Jimmy Boeheim and Buddy Boeheim, the Boeheim brothers, all right, in to work out. Jimmy Boeheim, 6'8", 215, small forward / power forward, played for Syracuse. He's a senior. Buddy Boeheim, 6'6", 205, shooting guard, went to Syracuse. He's a senior. Then you had Andrew Jones, 6'4", 190, shooting guard, played at Texas. He's a senior. Gabe Brown, 6'8", 215, small forward, Played for Michigan State. He's a senior. Tyson Etienne, 6'2", point guard, 205 pounds. He went to Wichita State. He's a junior. Jordan Goldwire, 6'3", 195 pounds. He's a point guard. He went to Oklahoma. He's a senior. Peter Kiss, 6'5", 200 pounds, shooting guard. He went to Bryant. He's a senior. Then you got Jared Roden, 6'6", 210 pounds, small forward. Played at Seton Hall. He's a senior. And Jalen Wilson, 6'8", 225, small forward. Played at Kansas, and he's a sophomore. I think what you notice here, most of these players on this list, and we have another couple of guys that we're going to bring up, ladies and gentlemen. Most of the players on this list here look like prospects in the second round, right? Number 42 that the Knicks could possibly look at, as well as guys that may not even be drafted, right? That the Knicks may look to sign to their G League team, et cetera, et cetera. Anything you take from this list here, Tony, I'll start with you. Then I'll come around the board.
Immediately, like you said, I think more than just the 42nd pick, it's more of the undrafted crowd, the guys that could shore up our G League team, guys that we could bring in like two-way contract guys. I think that they're taking a look at those guys as well. Kudos to the front office that they leaving no stone unturned. So but I think these guys are more of the undrafted crowd, and guys that we could put in with two-way contracts and just to keep an eye on a G League team for over the course of the season.
Right. Steph, any thought about this list of players here? And ladies and gentlemen, I see people in the chat saying, "Oh my God, this is who we're looking at." These are second-round guys, most likely. All right, second-round guys. There's a couple of guys we're going to talk about in a little bit who are first-round guys. But go ahead, Steph.
I mean, listen, the Knicks are doing their due diligence. If they have to trade down, they're probably looking for the G League squad as well. Two-way contracts. They're doing their due diligence, regardless of position. Those are point guard, shooting guard, small forwards. So they're not really looking at what we have on the roster. They're just looking at talent.
Right, just looking at guys. You notice here, a lot of wing players, right? A lot of wing players in this lineup of guys. There's actually another guy out there that I think I missed putting him on the list. Orlando Robinson. He's a center, the only center that was on the list. He's 6'11", right? But he's the only center that was on the 6'11", 245. Josh, any thoughts about this list of players here?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the Knicks doing their due diligence in the second round. And you never know what you can find in that second round. There's been some really good players that have come out of the second round out of that G League form. And I think the Knicks are now doing a better job at player development in the G League. So there might be some really important players that we might see, 3-4 years down the road that can come up to the big club and contribute. So I think the Knicks are kind of scoping that out. I'll just highlight that the Boeheim brothers, we know, they're from Syracuse, played under their dad. And these guys can shoot. They can shoot the lights out the gym, right? So I think Knicks may be looking there as like a little local kind of thing, bringing some players from the local area to contribute to the team. But other than that, I totally agree with Tony and Steph. I think that this is a list that's all about the second round and showing up the back end of the draft. And who knows, if the Knicks trade down, we can get two of these guys or something like that. So we'll see.
It's either, with the Boeheim brothers, it's either, they're a hometown thing, or not really hometown, but or it's I'm gonna do you a favor thing. You know what I'm saying? You remember way back in the days, the Knicks drafted Andy Routman out of Syracuse. He was a shooter.
Andy Routman, yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. The Boeheim brothers. Isaiah, any thoughts about this list here?
Yeah, again, I agree with all you guys. It's just the second round, and I will say this one, Sam. I truly, fully trust the Knicks' second round choices. I mean, lately, the last two, honestly, since Mitchell Robinson, even though that's two different front offices, the Knicks have been hitting on the second round, man. I don't think for the most part, they haven't hit. They haven't missed yet. We came a long way from Clean Anthony early. Came a long way.
Hey, come on, man. Don't diss Clean Anthony early. Don't diss Clean Anthony early.
Hey, listen, he had a crazy story, but nah, man, the Knicks have been doing good. They're doing the due diligence. We're going to see a lot more workouts. There's about 2 more weeks until the draft, so we're going to see a lot more workouts. But like you said, these are just for the second rounders and filling out the G League team, and just possibly doing a favor for the Boeheim brother, for the Boeheim brothers and the coach.
Yeah,
so,
that's how you got to do it sometimes. Get them in there, let them get a workout, help them get their, get their resume, build their resume a little bit. We'll see if they get some more workouts around the league. That's how you got to do it sometimes.
And if there's one thing we know about this front office, they use their connections and use their relationships. So, can't put that past them.
Yeah. I want to say to my guy Mets in the chat, man, I picked up for you twice, but every time I pick up, you're breathing heavy into the microphone. So I got to put you on hold so that you're not breathing heavy into the microphone, my friend. That's why I put you on hold. You can't, you got to control the breathing a little bit so you're not all over the mic and all of that and all over the podcast. You know what I'm saying? But these are guys that the Knicks have worked out. Of course, I also mentioned the Orlando, I forgot his last name now, but they mentioned that. See, I'm looking at people laughing in the chat. Messing me up. Y'all messing me up. But anyway, they looked at a center as well, Orlando Robinson. Orlando Robinson. There you go. They looked at Orlando Robinson, as a second-round center. I don't know. I don't know if the Knicks are going to really. They're looking at wings, a lot of wings in this draft. I'm not seeing them draft a center right now.
Wow.
Don't tell Mark that.
I mean, I'm just saying they're looking at so many wings, right? All of the players they bring in are wings, not really bringing in centers. Now we still got a couple of weeks, right? So they could bring in a slew of them, and then we'll know a little bit more. But they've really been looking at wings.
Hey, Sim, I'll be honest with you, man. I do think the Knicks really have faith in if they're going to take a center, it's going to be in the second round. Again, mostly all our centers have been second rounders, and if I'm the Knicks, I'm thinking that way too because look, we got Jericho Sims who's looking like a good backup center. So I don't want to say
backup.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Right.
But I don't want to say it's wasting a pick to draft the center because centers, of course, are important pieces. But I do feel like you said, right, the Knicks are looking at wings and they see where the league is going. And I'm comfortable with that because I do believe that this is a wing-oriented league now, and the more wings you have, the better.
Yeah. Did you see that picture of Jericho Sims and Julius Randle and them? Jericho Sims is like a cyborg,
he's from the country.
I don't know where he's from. I don't know if he's from the country or the city, but he looked like a cyborg. He's just huge. You know what I'm saying? He's huge. Him and Randall been working out in Dallas.
Oh, well, we all know what that means. That Randall's staying.
I mean, I think that was happening anyway.
Listen, Sid, when you see Randall smile, anyway. Then when you see Randall smile like that, he like, yeah, that want me going, I ain't leaving.
The Knicks brought in today Malachi Branham. They brought him in. He's a shooting guard. 19 years old, right?
That's a kid from Kansas?
Ohio State.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He's 6'5", 195. Comes from Akron, Ohio. Played for Ohio State. I actually like this guy. I like his mid-range shooting. I think he's going to be a good shooter in the league. You know what I mean? He has a little float game, little post-up game. I like what he can bring.
He has a nice stroke too.
Yeah,
and he's a freshman, right? So
yep,
it's even more room for improvement when you look at his numbers freshman year compared to even a Johnnie Bryant as a freshman or what's the other guy? What's the guy you like, Quinn?
You mean Johnny Davis?
Johnny Davis, excuse me, Johnny Davis. And,
that's my guy right there.
And
Y'all all messing up today. Y'all, you look at y'all.
Yeah, I
messing up today,
know.
man.
Quinn, what's the guy you like?
At the wing,
Yeah, the two guard.
out of Arizona.
Yes,
What's his name?
Macrin. So
Oh,
even
yeah.
Yeah.
if you look at
Benedict.
those two guys, freshman years,
Uh-huh.
and it wasn't as prominent as this gentleman you're referring to. So he still has a big jump that he can make.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do a breakdown on all of the guys that the Knicks worked out. Not just second round guys, but like first round guys that could be there at 11. I'm gonna try to do a breakdown on all of them if I can. Go ahead, Steph.
Only thing I would say about Branham, I like his stroke. It's really smooth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's at Jabari Smith level, but when you see it, it's really smooth. But just the athleticism when you talk about comparing him to Griffin and Davis and Mathurin, I think his athleticism might be a step below.
Right. It might be. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Malachi Branham?
Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead. You're always wrong.
Yeah. So in regards to Branham, listen, I like him. I think he has a lot of potential, a lot of growth in this game. But I do think those guys, other guys on the list, Mathurin, Davis, I like those guys better. And it's not because of Branham, him being a freshman, but I still think that he has a little bit more growth to do. And if I'm the Knicks, I'm looking to try to hit a home run at 11 if possible. And I think between Mathurin and Davis, I think that would be the closest thing to a home run at 11 compared to bringing in to Branham. Now, if both of those other guys are gone, then I'll look at him. I'll look at probably Terry Eason or Sohan or something like that. But I think if Davis or Mathurin are there, I'm going for those guys. Those guys, to me, scream more home run, particularly Davis than
Okay.
Branham.
All right. Isaiah?
I'm with you. I'm with Josh with Johnny Davis, and that's it for me. I got a customer real quick.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Take care of your customer. You brought up Josh. You brought up Eason. The Knicks also worked him out. He did an interview today and said that the Knicks were one of the teams that he worked out for. Power forward, 6'8", 215, LSU. What's your thoughts?
Sim, just like we were talking about earlier, positionless basketball. I think one of the big needs, along with point guard and the star players, for the Knicks to get bigs who are versatile. I think Terry Eason is very versatile on the defensive side of basketball. I think he can guard fives, he can guard fours, he can guard threes. I think that he can be an important piece for Tom Thibodeau to use on the floor coming off the bench, at least initially. No shade to Obi or Randall or anybody like that, but I think he's someone you can plug in there to play that backup 5 or backup 4 role to be able to defend multiple positions. And he's very athletic. Offensively, I think there's some potential there as well. So that's the reason why I like Eason. And I just want to say this again. I think versatile bigs should also be a focus for the New York Knicks coming into this draft. Versatile bigs.
All right, Steph. If the Knicks drafted Eason, what's that mean for Obi and Randall?
I don't think it means anything for Randall. Obi, it would depend on what the Knicks are looking for. Both of them, I'm not sure both of them will be able to get time. So Eason might be out of the rotation if Obi is ahead of him. But if they're looking for defense, then Eason is the guy. My only issue with Eason is he's just limited offensively. I mean, he could definitely get the ball, get the rebound, bring it down, dribble in transition. When he's a slasher, but he goes mostly to his right. He needs to work on the other offensive parts of his game, but defensively, he's a monster. And he's not even marked as high as Sohan, probably because offensively, Sohan might be a little slightly ahead. And Eason has a little hitch. There's some mechanical stuff he needs to work out in terms of his shooting. But I don't have a problem with Eason. He would be a perfect 12, 15, 16-minute guy behind Randall. But then what does that say for Obi?
Right, exactly. That's the thing.
Any thoughts about putting him as a backup 5, maybe?
At 6'9", 6'8", 6'9"?
I mean, Boston does it. Boston does it.
Yeah.
But he's not as beefy as who's that? Robert Williams. He's not as. You know what I mean?
I think he could play at the 3 and shore up that defense at the 3 and play alongside of Randall or play alongside of Obi. You know what I mean? gives me those vibes of Patrick Williams coming into the draft and the things they were saying about him, and OG from Toronto.
Anunoby.
Anunoby. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think he could come in and really just hang his hat on defense, and you kind of take what you get from him on the other end, but put him on that best perimeter guy on the other team. You know, he could guard the post as well. So I think he could play the three as well. So I agree with you in that sense, Josh. Versatile bigs. I think he could slot in at 3, 4, or 5, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, he's not going to be another Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, is he? Because, you know, Steph talked about the hitch in his shot. I don't want him to come in and play all defense.
I don't know if it's that bad. It's not.
Go ahead.
It's not that bad.
And he could pass the ball, too.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
No, I was gonna say, like, you know, I know you guys mentioned beefy guys, beefy centers or whatever, but let's say, you know, the Knicks feel confident enough to start Sims. You know, let's say they move on from Noel, they're confident enough to start Sims. I feel like a lot of teams in the NBA don't have beefy, you know, guys at backup center. They have guys that are 6'8", 6'9", coming in to fill a backup role, going out there to eat fouls and stuff like that. So again, it's just more along the conversation of the NBA game is changing, and, you know, positionless basketball. I think a lot of teams are now starting to do that. Now, would Tibbs be comfortable with that? I don't know. He had Joakim Noah as his center for a number of years, and Joakim Noah wasn't the tallest or biggest guy. So I just think really just depends on how the Knicks view him. If Easton's available and the rest of those guys are off the board, I think the Knicks really have a good chance of taking him.
But would we agree, though, that Sohan, Eason, these more defensive-minded players would be behind Davis, Mathurin?
Oh yeah, no question.
Okay,
no question.
Okay,
no question.
I think they're trade down candidates, in my opinion, personally.
Gotcha.
And again, I think the front office is looking at everything. They're looking at moving up. They're looking at moving down. They're looking at who might be on the board at 11. They're looking at trading the pick altogether and maybe making a big splash.
Right.
I think they're looking at every possible option.
Yeah, no doubt. I think they are. Ty Washington was in today.
Everybody's down on Ty. I'm okay with Ty.
He was in today, 6'3". You know, obviously he's from Kentucky, 6'3", 195. He's point guard, 19 years old. I think the reason why people are, if you want to say down on him, is because of Emmanuel Quickley. I think that's the big thing. What happens there? You know what I mean? You got Emmanuel Quickley, you got Miles McBride, and then are you still bringing in a veteran point guard if you bring in Ty Washington?
Right.
You know what I mean? If you draft him at 11, he's not going to ride the end of the bench. You know what I mean?
No,
So now what happens?
I think that's too high.
You know, right? Okay, right. So I think that's the question. The questions about him. You know what I mean?
But,
what happens?
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying. You know what happens with your lineups if you draft Ty Washington? I think that's.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. But in terms of people who saying they're the same players, I will say that his decision making and playmaking is a step ahead of Quickley's. Enough to draft him, probably not, but it is ahead.
Can I ask you guys this? If obviously we have these guys that are higher on the board for us, the Johnny Davises, the Mathurins. But if we can get a Tata and a Sohan, or a Tata and the guy we just referred to, and as opposed to, you know, the Johnny Davis or the Mathurin, so we're getting 2 for the 1, even though one of those 2 aren't as high on the board. Are you guys okay with that? Because me personally, I am.
I think
it's just the room. That's all. Where's the room for them?
That's the
right,
thing.
and I think. Yeah, you said if Davis is gone in a scenario like that.
No, I'm saying potentially drafting Davis, trading him, and picking up 2 picks and getting 2 guys that are on our list but not as high on our list. You know what I mean?
So I think it depends on the player. And me personally, I feel like Davis would be the closest thing to a home run at 11 if the Knicks would be able to get him there because of what he did at Wisconsin, his ability to take over a team, run a team, his scoring ability, things of that nature. So it really depends because, you want to get a star out of this draft. You want to potentially get a home run type of pick. And if he's there, then you go ahead and make that move. If not, then you can. I think the likelihood becomes more likely that you move down, try to get 2 for 1, things of that nature. But I'm looking to hit a home run at 11. I mean, it's not going to be there all the time, but if it's sitting there in my face, I'm going to try to swing the bat. I'm aiming for the fences.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's me.
If you get a double and a triple, I think that's better than a home run. Unless bases are loaded. And right now, I don't know if bases are loaded for the Knicks. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, you can look at it either way. I just really think it depends on how comfortable the Knicks and how much they really feel in their brain trust about how good Johnny Davis is or Benedict Mathurin. More so Davis. I think Davis has the higher ceiling, in my opinion. I think he has star potential in the NBA. Like, that's just my personal opinion. If they feel that way about him, there's no question they have to draft him at 11 if it's sitting right there in their face.
Okay. All right. Another guy that the Knicks brought in today was Dyson Daniels, right? I think we all know about Dyson Daniels, 6'7", 195, a defensive point guard, 19 years old. Yeah, I really like what he can bring to the Knicks. I think he can bring a lot of what they need on the offensive side as far as facilitating, right? He's not a three-point shooter, though, so that's one thing. And then, of course, defensively. Right. You know what I mean? He can defend from the point guard spot to the wing spots. So I like that he brings those things. I know there's going to be a lot of people who are having flashbacks of Frank Ntilikina. You know what I mean? So I don't think that – I think he's going to be better than Frank Ntilikina in the NBA. You know what I mean? I like Dyson Daniels, you know?
Sim, I got a better one for you. Where's he from? Where's he from again?
Australia. Ben Simmons? Yeah. He's number one on my draft board for 11.
Listen. My thing with Ben Simmons, am I paying Dyson Daniels $30 million? No, I am not. That's my thing.
I'm talking about the prototype kind of player.
Okay. Yeah.
The reason I still take that chance is because he puts the shot up. You know what I mean? Like he'll take the shot. It's not so yeah. He can improve. If you're not shooting, there's no chance of you improving. You know what I mean? He'll take the shots. I think his shot is not broken. I think it will get better.
Yeah. I like. I mean, right now at 11. Well, it depends on who's there. I kind of feel like Ben Mathurin could be. I think he could be a serious player in the league. So if I was choosing between the two, I'd probably take my chances on Ben Mathurin just because of what I think his potential is. Right. You know, but if Dyson Daniels is there at 11, I'm really intrigued with what he could bring to the New York Knicks. I feel like he checks a lot of boxes. You know what I mean? Defensively, being able to be a facilitator. I just feel like he checks a lot of boxes, and I'd be interested in drafting that kid.
And defensive versatility, like we was talking about with
exactly.
Dyson. You get that across the wings. 1, 2, 3. I don't know about 4. He got to bulk up a little, but
I agree. I agree with you too, Sam. The only reason I think I have Dyson above, and I know most of y'all don't agree, is because I feel like there's less shuffling to do with the rest of the roster.
Yeah.
There's less things to figure out. You know what I mean? I know you know, a lot of you say if that's the guy, you get him and then you figure it out. But me personally, I like to know I could get this guy and I don't got to figure out anything else. You know what I mean? Like it's like a seamless fit.
Does he come in and start? If the Knicks draft him at 11, is he starting?
I start him.
No, he's not even a point guard. I mean, what I'm reading is that he would start off ball, and in a year or two, you know, he'll probably be a point guard. So you're gonna bring him in and start him at point right now? I mean, you can argue he's even with what he has, he's better than what we got.
I would because we have guys in the starting lineup capable of facilitating still. So you're relying on his strength in defense. I think the facilitation is a plus. You know what I mean? And then the fact that he will take an open shot, just work on that shot. You know what I mean? Make sure you could hit the open ones.
Yeah. Now the one thing that I seen today, Berman tweeted out that in his interview, he said that the Knicks like him at point guard. That's what Dyson Daniels said. He said the Knicks like him at point guard. So,
I think we're gonna need some more shooting in the start lineup.
Oh,
we had a little bit more shooting, bit more shooting in the start lineup. I'll be a little bit more comfortable with it. But right now, I just don't think that we have that.
I mean, we got Fournier. If RJ or Randall could get back to form, you know what I mean? I think we might be all right. And then depending on what happens with Mitch, if we end up getting a stretch five,
that could be the all clunk up starting lineup if we got Mitch in the lineup as well.
Yeah, a lot of offensive rebounds.
Right. To your point though, if you bring him in and you're saying he's not going to be the primary playmaker, that means the ball stays in RJ's hand and the ball stays in Randall's hand. And I'm really want to get the ball out of at least Randall's hands as far as being a primary facilitator.
Yeah. So let me get to a super chat here. AU Montan, this is going back to Donovan Mitchell said, you can't build around a 6-foot point guard.
Why not?
I mean, the Utah Jazz didn't make it, but they've been better than the Knicks for a long time. I can tell you that. A couple other people in here. Pudge Nice said trade Burks to Philly for 23 and get Soto.
Kind of high, 23.
I think that's kind of high. I think it might be a little bit high. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I think, but if you're trading Burks, if you still have your 11th pick,
there
then,
you go.
Maybe you're okay with taking that flyer.
There you go.
But there might be somebody better than Soto at 23, a better prospect.
Right.
True.
Efrain Lopez said Dolan cares about winning. He just hasn't made the right decisions on the basketball side. I agree. But, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. Any last words? I'm going to get Big Bubba back in here, and then I'm going to head out. And I know we got some other things coming up later on today or tonight, this evening. But, Tony, I'll start with you, man. Any last words?
No, as always, it's great on the show, great with the panel. Shout out to the chat, Yo Black is Time, and Knicks and Bruises, 6:30.
All right. And Steph?
Yeah, shout out to you, Sim, and the panel and the chat. Great show. Queens Court, 8 o'clock. We'll be doing bigs, power forwards, and centers. So we'll be talking Eason, Coloco. We're also doing first round. Those that will be available at 11. Those that will be available if the Knicks trade down, and then also who may be available at the 42nd pick. So, of course, Doran and Williams will be doing Eason and Sohan, but we'll also be looking at Coloco. There was another one, Kelsler, and there was one, and Soto, second round.
So, okay. All right. Josh?
Yeah, salute everyone. Like I said, this whole thing, we're going to get, the Knicks are going to get better. I'm optimistic about the future. I'm optimistic that this front office is going to finally be the one to turn this team around. It's already shown with our cap flexibility, but also the way they draft. And I think all these conversations are important. I think they're having the same conversations amongst themselves as we are doing on here and on Twitter. So I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait.
Right. And Big Bubba.
Josh is always wrong. It's never going to change. No, but great show. I mean, shout out to you, and the controversy was really great. I watched that show.
Yeah, thank you.
Great show today. Good live debates. Me and Sam got something cooking for, me kicking his ass during the game in Atlantic City. So don't you worry. I'm taking a W, y'all.
W for whooping.
Exactly.
Hey, Tony, I want you to stay on that side, Tony. Because when I win, I don't want to hear nothing. Only one I respect on this panel is Queen. But everybody else, listen, I got something for y'all.
Whooping. Ladies and gentlemen, get your draft tickets. All right, I just
get
put the
those
link
tickets.
in
They
the
going
chat.
fast.
I put the link in the chat, so make sure you get your draft tickets, ladies and gentlemen, so you can see what happens on that Friday night with this guy, right? He may not even come back on the show. You know what I mean? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Make sure you get your draft tickets. And
going fast. Please go get them.
Yeah, we're up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Peace. The second annual NBK draft party in Atlantic City. There'll be a live podcast, live DJ, live video shoot, $40 for a VIP ticket, $30 for draft night only. Get your tickets now.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Knick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.